I had never done the work before, but I saw a YouTube video on profit margins and how it was a low barrier to entry. And I only had $500 in my pocket, so I didn't have much wiggle room. I didn't know how to find investors at that point. I didn't know how to fund. So I started with my dad's trailer, my 2004 Ford Explorer that had the back end rotting out of it, and started with that.
Craft Your Life is a radio show for the tenacious, the bold, and those who refuse to settle for mediocrity. We bring together visionaries, game changers, and relentless go-getters who are crafting their lives, businesses, and relations in pursuit of excellence. If you are ready to shatter limits, embrace the amazing, and live life on your own terms, this show is for you. Each episode delivers actionable insights, inspiring stories, and unfiltered conversations that will ignite your drive to win a life worth dying for. Tune in and get ready to live viciously. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Craft Your Life radio show. I'm your host, Matt Kuehlhorn. Today, we've got a guy on the show who embodies what this whole mission is about: taking life into your own hands, building something real, and doing it with pride. Nick Lavallee, got the last name right, is the owner of Grindstone Seal Coating out of Massachusetts. He's a craftsman in an industry most people overlook, yet it's one that protects homes, extends property life, and flat out makes communities look better. Nick saw an opportunity to serve homeowners the right way with integrity, quality workmanship, and a level of care that stands out in a world full of shortcuts. He's one of those operators who don't wait for permission. He picked up the tools, figured it out, and built a business that keeps growing because he shows up, delivers, and treats people right. On Craft Your Life radio show, we bring on people who build their own path, people who are shaping their corner of the world, people who don't settle. Nick fits that mold: the grind, the commitment, the pride in doing the job right. Nick, my friend, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Matt, thanks for the intro, dude. That was it's humbling.
Yeah, man. I'm wondering if we have a good connection. How is it on your side?
It was good until you
Are
almost
you
ended it.
you freezing up at all?
No, I'm not freezing up. You were freezing up.
Okay. We're going to keep this going and we'll just play it out if we have to move or reschedule. I'm not at my normal studio. Where are you beaming in
My
from?
office. Yeah, I'm here at the office, so I remember paying the bill this
Awesome.
month, so it should be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on. Well, Nick, give a little context. Where'd you grow up? How'd you get into grindstone?
So my name's Nick Lavallee. I grew up in Brookfield, Massachusetts, a small little town. I think roughly 6,000 population, not very big, more central Massachusetts. Grew up with my family, super close knit. Went to high school, wasn't too sure what I wanted to do going forward after high school. So I pretty much dragged my heels walking through the halls every day, skimmed by with my grades, and after high school went and traveled a little bit. Ended up realizing that I wanted to craft my own life. I wanted to be the decision maker of where I go. So then came Grindstone Seal Coating when I had $500 left in my pocket.
There you go. Why seal coating? Did you have a niche there? Did you just be like, oh man, I love tar?
Definitely not love tar. It was not the I had never done the work before, but I saw a YouTube video on profit margins and how it was a low barrier to entry, and I only had $500 in my pocket, so I didn't have much wiggle room. I didn't know how to find investors at that point. I didn't know how to fund, so I started with my dad's trailer, my 2004 Ford Explorer that had the back end rotting out of it, and started with that.
How'd you find your first customer?
It was my aunt. She was in a big,
Okay.
beautiful neighborhood. We did her driveway, and we looked back down the driveway and there was footsteps all over, so we had to redo it. But that got us 4 or 5 other jobs, and then, social media trickled down, family members helped us kinda kickstart the process.
Okay. Word of mouth and family members, warm market, social media.
Yep.
I love it. What I think is really interesting about this conversation, for the listeners, I mean, Nick, you're like in it. You're literally in the grind, working Grindstone. Um, is this closing up? Is this the second year you're closing up
This
or
is the
third
3rd
one?
year we'll be closing up.
Okay. Give us some parameters if you're open to it. Like, what did year one, like top line revenue, year two,
Yeah.
year three?
Yeah, so year 1, our top line revenue was 110,000, which I was amazed at because I looked back and I was like, "Holy crap, I just, made 110,000, but I didn't actually make 110,000." And that's where I was lost. But kind of once I get the understanding of that,
Yeah.
we doubled, the 2nd year and then again this year, so now we're sitting at a roughly 450 top line revenue with a projected $2.5 million revenue for our 4th year. So
Why?
we're super pumped. We got in with this asphalt maintenance company as a subcontractor who wants, 2 full-time crews for us. We are the white glove seal coating company, if you will, and they're the white glove paving company. The values are just so interlocked, and we feel as though it's gonna be a great partnership. So I've been blessed for sure with things that have how things have moved the needle in this business and, how me and Nate have moved the needle as well.
Yeah, I love that. And so you are in a partnership. You just mentioned your partner, Nate. Um, and again, for listeners, uh, this is fascinating because I have maybe an illusion or a delusion. I don't know that there's a number of listeners, and and we're listening from all different stages. And so, you know, Nick's a young professional, hungry, and he's grinding on the start. I mean, first within the first 5 years of his company and making some big moves and some bold moves, and that's all important. And I want to dissect some of the pieces that it takes to make those moves because I have an imagination that there's some people listening here and maybe they want to start their own thing, or maybe they've started it, maybe they're right in the same spot, or maybe they're farther along and is a little reminiscent kind of time frame because the early days are so fun in some ways, but they're also daunting and um, like crazy nerve wracking in some other ways. And so I guess Nick, for kind of distilling some of the tactical pieces, like um, I want you to dive in a little bit more onto why. Like, what was the real impetus for starting out, putting the shingle on the side of the house or talking to the friends, neighbor, whatever? Like, why did you start? Um, and would you do it again knowing what you now know?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say the real reason that me and Nate started out was because growing up, we didn't have the exact life that we want to provide for our families in the future. Um, me, I watched my parents move into a house and have to sell a boat, sell a motorcycle, and sell a truck to make the first mortgage payment. Like it wasn't easy. We grew up amazing. I wouldn't change my childhood. Um, if I had the chance. It was so special. But I think the understanding of this isn't how it has to be and being able to make the decisions to provide that for my future family and my family now, to be able to see my parents retire before they're 65 would be something so special to my heart. So I think looping that all in was, hey, this is this is the only way, in my eyes at that moment. Um, And I wouldn't change a thing. And those first days are daunting. When you're in it, you just don't know what's going on. And I think me and Nate having each other was really amazing to start because we always laugh about who would make decisions, but Nate would have his way, I would have mine, and we just decide on one of them. And if it was wrong, then the other person would be right. So we'd move forward. But I think the collaboration between the two of us was helped us push the needle twice as fast. Um, and then understanding that, well, if there's two decision makers, two people need to make money as well. So I think that's now what we're really going forward with. It's not just my family that I'm providing for. Nate's also providing for his family as well. And we're kind of just riding the same boat to get to the same destination.
Hmm. What are the critical pieces for you and Nate that make it work? Because not all partnerships work. And it could be another area for some folks that's just really daunting, but it can also be an area of like true power and momentum. Um, have you delineated like, all right, here's some of the composed, the pieces that work? Because I would imagine 3.5 years time, like there's been
Yeah.
conflicts.
Yeah, we talk about that and like we look back to those first year, second year and laugh. But I think the real thing is seeing, where does Nate want to go? Where does Nick want to go? And how can we shape this engine so that we can both go to those different places and use each other to get there. Like I had said, um, Nate's dream is to have an oyster farm on the coast of Massachusetts, and my dream is to be in Washington, Colorado, in the mountains. So, how do you create a business, an engine, if you will, to drive two different places? But it's really just surrounded around values. Um, our faith in God and Jesus Christ is also a big, big needle mover. I think if that wasn't there, it'd be a lot different because I sit on my faith a lot to help me move forward. And if I was partnered with someone who maybe wasn't sitting on their faith, I don't know if I'd be able to make it work. Um, but just aligning values and understanding why we want to move to where we want to move and how we can help get there is is pretty important.
Dig it. So, so alignment in faith values, to me, there's some integrated components with that. I'm really curious. And I'm gonna press in a bit with you, Nick. But when you say sit on your faith, like, can you describe what that really means? Like, how is that just a deep set of values? Is that a connection? Like, what does that mean? How would you describe that? Define
Yeah,
that.
I would say a couple years ago, I would have said that I was a believer in God, um, and that I had faith. But more as of recent, since I was in Grand Junction, and I moved back here to now, my faith has grown 10x. And what it really means is understanding the Word of God, pulling out the Word of God, taking it and correlating it to your life, um, and just using those different aspects to move forward. Like, I used to struggle so much with anxiety and burnout, pushing so hard to get to the next level, and getting so anxious or depressed in the process, and not letting things kind of flow. So when I am moving the needle and I am pushing in action, and it's not happening, God will say, "Stay patient." His path isn't just straight in; it's downs, ups, and understanding that He's gonna pull you out of that, um, and did it for a reason is huge. Those mistakes that we made or the lessons that we were taught were actually the things that push us up the hill, as people start to understand. But when starting out, we didn't understand that.
Yeah. So, how do you? Um, I'm trying to add a little context here because I know you listen to a guy like Hermosi, um, and there's a slew of entrepreneurial voices I can imagine hearing about. Like on one level,
Hey everybody, this is Luke from Cooler Garage Doors. Just want to take a quick second to talk about our sponsor, Sommer Garage Door Openers. In our opinion, Sommers are the highest quality product on the market today. We recommend them for all of our residential garage door installs because of the variety of features they include, such as Wi-Fi connectivity and safety features such as a fixed chain, which moves along a secure rail to ensure your garage door opens quietly and safely. Click on the link in the description to learn more about Sommer Garage Door Openers.
it's my question. How do you validate and pinpoint that crux of like, okay, this is God's path versus I just need to do more? Or like you're gonna learn lessons along the way. So there's gonna be experiential. Like success looks like a total screwy, like screw drive path. It's not a point A to B, like a textbook style growth pattern, right? Um, take 2 steps back, 1 step forward. Like you'd say, you know, yeah, this is all the divine, all the universal plan. This is God's path for me. Um, but to me, like there's a slippery catch in there. Like how do we be like present and okay with this while also knowing there's likely always more or always different that we could do in order to move forward. I don't know if that's a clear question or not, but
Yeah, I think I'm grasping what you're saying. I think it's understanding that Matt has a plan, right? Matt's plan is to be here, and he's going to go through those same dips and dives, whether he's at a faith level with God or not. But I think what I'm starting to understand is that I might not have as good as a plan as God has. Um, and I think also just like, because it's hard to separate. Like, I see entrepreneurs like Hormozy or maybe people who aren't rooted in their faith. And then I see people who, like Nick Bear, per se. I don't know if you know him, but he's a health guy. I follow him big time. And he wasn't a faith guy until as of recent. And he talks about how he would hit these levels in his business and in his path that he was so like he just wanted to get there. And then he was there and he felt empty, right? Like as I'm going through this path with my relationship with God and I'm still growing, I'm starting to understand that I'm so much more full as a human being and I have a father who cares for me, loves me, that I can go back to, and seeing the things that he puts into my life and how he does that has been super amazing. And understanding that my path, okay, maybe my path isn't just to retire my parents or to have wealth for my family, but it's to push other people's needle in my business um, through God's words and bring them some peace along the way as well. Um, and it's so new. It's so interesting being a new person in their faith, because I feel like I'm just learning so much and it's getting thrown at me, but just now I've been able to see how God moves in my life. Like I had a core group of friends living in Colorado last year who were pushing my faith heavy. And when I left, I was so upset because I was like, these guys are pushing the needle with me and I'm growing closer to God. But now they're going to be 32 hours away in Grand Junction and I'm going to be back in Massachusetts. And that was something I prayed on, because having a brother rooted in Christ with you helps you move forward so much stronger, and that you're able to be on the same level-minded as. There was this kid who lived 6 houses down the road from me, and he was 2 years younger, and he's on this same path, but I have no idea. And I see a post that he makes, and I'm like, "Hey, let's go on a run." We get together. The first words that come out of his mouth include God. And I was like, he listens, he understands, and he brings you things, people, resources at the right time. Puts people in front of you or lessons in front of you that might not make sense, but he will follow up in terms and answer those prayers that come. I don't know if that answered the question, and I could have gone off. I could
I
have gone
dig it,
off.
man. Yeah, this is not a this is not a podcast or on religion whatsoever, but what I love about it is kind of digging into what makes people tick. And I am not I'm not a religious seeker. I do think that I'm very spiritual, and I've been formulating my own relationship with God and using that word more and more lately. Um, but personally, for me, it is like the way I've related it and kind of how I would interpret even what you just shared. It's like, look, at the end of the day, there's a higher power. There's a higher purpose. We can name it whatever we want to name it potentially and have a personal relationship with this higher power in order to get out of our own way. And if I'm hearing you correct, Nick, you know, as you lean into that, into your faith, that allows your tiny ego to not check itself, to know that it's on the right path, because now you're putting trust, you're putting faith into something that's outside of you, aligning your values, intentions, and in doing some of that, in saying, okay, you mentioned Jesus Christ, God, like that also has a set of values. Like somebody that's really on that path is likely not going to um, be hanging out in dark alleys and putting needles in their arms and like hanging out with the wrong crowd, if you will. So some of this is just, again, watching the inputs. Like we know based on science, people that go work out, that are intentional about their diet intakes and drink plenty of water and are good, loving humans, like there's going to be a return and an external reflection that comes with all of that. Um, and so again, like in these conversations, I look to extract, the components that anybody can apply anytime. And if somebody out there has a God wound, because I've met some folks, I know some people very, very dearly that might be spiritual, but they have a God wound, like that word triggers them. Um, and yet it's very important for many, many, many people, and it could also be weaponized. Like there's all the components that come with that. And at the end of the day, understanding that actually, while I'm driving in my world on cooler, maybe there's actually a larger, bigger mission that I don't even see yet, that I just have to lean in and have faith in. And so then the challenges come for me and life serves for me and my growth, but not necessarily my
Right,
ego.
right. Yeah, leaning into your faith is hard because, like, I think of it, you could think about entrepreneurial end, like you kinda just said. When I was first starting out, I had to lean into faith not knowing what the outcome would be, right? Like, I had to leave some friend groups, I had to leave some people, some actions behind where comfortability and acceptance was so close, and that's super hard to leave, but I had to have faith in myself at that moment and what I was doing to move forward. Like, I see these people who are great people, was great friends with them, would still give them a hug, say hi on the street, but they're still in that comfortability and acceptance level, and the needle doesn't always move forward as fast when you're sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's also a reminder, and Napoleon Hill writes a whole chapter based on faith. Like that's the title of his chapter in Think and Grow Rich. There's definitely a power to it. Like, and where I go, again, like leaning in to the arena, entrepreneurship is so risky. And I think that's why so few people are true entrepreneurs. Like it's easier to stay comfortable, but for some personality types, it is just a must to go into the arena and take some risks. And in that space, like having faith that there is an outcome is incredibly important because there's no external reality. There's no external feedback that's showing us what could be. We're just leaning in and taking risks. Um, I had another little point there, but I totally missed the point.
I think it's
Spaced my
I think it's
head.
also an action
Um,
piece, right? Because sure, there's the faith vulnerability of it. Be faithful, but you can't just be faithful and be stagnant, right? Like the action is the
right.
most important piece. And that's something I'm starting to see myself go into heavy right now, and seeing myself at a real level of where I'm at, where I need to be to grow at this projected level for next year. And I'm sitting in that through this off season as we're in and out of office days. Um, just seeing what level I need to be at and understand that if I don't have faith in myself, if I don't take the action, then it's just not going to happen and it's guaranteed. But understanding that if you do go, take the action and have faith that it's not guaranteed you're going to fail. Through the action, there's going to be an outcome, and that's really up to you. And I'm starting to be at the level of leading others, growing a team, leading myself, leading my relationship, and taking action steps to do so versus where I was at maybe a year ago. And I wasn't as concerned about taking massive action. And now I don't really have a choice. Either I take massive action or I fail. So it's kind of a good head place to be for me right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Napoleon Hill, I just did quick little research. Um, you know, again, his core idea, faith isn't belief, it's self-created certainty. He says faith is a state of mind that you build through intentional repetition of thought, emotion, and action. Not luck, not chance, but it's a system.
Yeah, you can bring it so many ways, but you go back to that. And as soon as I'm experiencing different emotions, madness, anxiety, sadness, um, ego, like God has a system for those feelings. And that's where the word is so important. Like understanding that his word is better than any other self-help book because it's all in one big book. And like you can go there and fight your anxiety and learn how to do so through the action. Like it's not just, oh, great, let's read the word. Yes, that made me less anxious in the moment, understanding it, but then getting anxious again and going back at it again and combating it with God's words and what he says. Like there is a system there, and that's what I think I'm finding so interesting because I've read tons of self-help books, but it's always like, okay, well, this one's going to push a needle. This one's going to push a needle. But there's still the major needle of the Bible when you open it up and you can select through where you want to go. Like I haven't read the Bible front to back, but I'll just dive in here when I'm feeling this or when I'm feeling this. And that's what's helped me a lot.
Mm. Do you have a favorite line of scripture that's top of mind that has been
Yeah.
hitting you recently?
I think just how iron sharpens iron. and finding that gentleman, James, who lived next door, having Tasha, um, you know, I didn't understand that Tasha could sharpen my iron as much as she has when we first met and when we were first in a relationship. I was very small-minded, but she's starting to sharpen mine so much as an individual in our relationship, but also an individual who's empathetic for other people. Like she has such high standards for who she wants her man to be in her life, and she gives the highest standards to me. Like, there is no one else on this planet Earth that would give what Tasha gives to me. And she expects that back, which has been the most growth for me because I would have been okay receiving, but if she didn't hold me to the level of giving the same thing back to her, then I wouldn't be growing the same way I am. Like, she is really helping me move the needle um in everything that I'm doing. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That is amazing.
And I sat down with you over the summer and I thanked you for being the type of friend who doesn't say, "Yeah, Nick, you're right." And when I'm coming to you and you're just saying nothing because either you're not agreeing with me or you're just giving me the straight up answer and being that real person to bounce something back off of, that's been much appreciated as well.
Yeah, finding the people in one's life that are are truly honest is a special gift. Hmm. I didn't realize we would go down the rabbit hole of God and faith as much as we did in the last 20 minutes.
I didn't either.
Um, for the listeners that are still with us, Nick, you know, you're in year 3, you're closing up year 3. Um, if somebody's listening that has not taken the first couple of steps, or maybe they're right there with you, first year or 2, like, what have you been able to distill outside of faith, outside of action? Like, what are some practical pieces that you would just share from your experiences that might get somebody off the couch or might give somebody a little bit of oomph on maybe they're in a grind right now. Maybe they're like, oh man, I don't know if I should continue. Or I'm sure you've had some moments of just like, what am I doing? Like, how do we find the next step, the next gear? What's the word you share?
Yeah, I think a major needle moving moment was um, putting the right people around me, but also finding the mentorship to move forward, being resourceful and understanding that you're not going to have all the tools like in your back pocket, but someone else has the tools. And if you find those people who are honest, who are open, who you can, in terms, attach onto, and they want to see you win because they see something of them in you when you started, that'll help you a lot. Now, like, I think that can come at any age. I think being a young guy has helped me out a lot because there's a lot of older people in entrepreneurship who wish they could go back to being this 22-year-old kid, third year in business, with all these ideas that they have now, and they want to give that to you to see you win. So being resourceful and finding those people, like when I came across you, I was at a 225K top line revenue level, end of year 2. I moved to Colorado. I just wanted to go for runs, ride my dirt bike, hike the mountains. And after a week, I got bored and I put out a Facebook post saying, looking for a sales job. And that's how I found you. And then our relationship grew massively in my life. And I put you at this top network in my life because you've helped me push the needle so far in mine. Being an open book, being able to extrapolate things from you, tie them directly into my business. That has pushed my needle far from April of 2025 to 11/19/2025. And then I think just understanding that there's going to be people who do things better than you do. And, that's where you start to delegate as you hire on. But before you even start hiring, delegate your knowledge webs of sales. Like, okay, let someone else teach you who might already know better, and it'll speed up the process, but also give you great education to teach someone when you do bring them on, or marketing, or onboarding, or getting on the phone. Just finding those people who are already moving the needle and learning from them.
Yeah, I dig it. I think for, the listener, if you heard that correctly, you took down a note around mentors. And I would just say, um, I mean, I seek mentors all the time and have always had mentors in my life. That's one of the reasons why I'm always willing to be a mentor. Um, it's because there's no new idea. Like all we have to do is just find the answer to whatever problem we have in the moment, and somebody has the answer. Um, but what I would say, you can correct me if you see otherwise, Nick, but there's no harm in asking. Just ask, and um, be ready to bring some level of value to the individual that you're asking of, and make sure it's not a take scenario. But if I go find somebody that I want to learn from, like, I ask what's in it for them, and I will approach it in that way, and I'll get curious and see if there's something I can bring to the table, um, while also getting that mentorship. There's a lot of folks that are just like, yeah, I'm an open book. I'm going to give mentorship because it's going to come back in some other
What's
way.
in it
I
for
guess,
them?
you know,
What's in it for them by Joe Polish, the book you put me onto, has been special. And understanding the don't be a taker, which is way easier than being a giver. Giving from Matt first instead of taking. You can create so many great relationships that way. And this book is really just a relational book. It's sitting right next to me. It's just how to create great relationships and nurture them in the correct way. But you can also take that into the sales. What's in it for your customer? What's in it for your team, for your hiring process? Like, once I started reading, it really changed my whole frame, even in my relationship with Tasha. Like, what's in it for Tasha? And using that book as a tool has been super special, because to start out, I was 100% a taker. 100% a taker. But now I can be a giver first, and you reap the benefits for sure.
I love that, man. Yeah, the giver first mentality is the way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Nick, as we put some bow ties on our conversation here, what are you excited for? What is the winter like? What does 2026 look like? Where are we going?
Yeah. 2026 looks big. I'm just psyched to start to build a team here. We have a couple employees now, but we're going to have a much bigger team next year. We're scaling 4 or 5x. And I'm excited to see what that takes of me and what I can bring to the table. And then through this off season, I'm just excited to focus on more of my health. As this summer, I put a lot into work, but now I'll dial more 4 hours a day into my health, and 7 hours into work, and just kind of switch that frame up for a bit.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Well, I tell you what, just watching your journey, it's awesome. And people don't just get to develop teams. like you've earned that right. And so kudos to you. And yeah, I am excited to see how it forms you and how you develop as a leader, because leadership is wild to me because, at one point I thought I was a good leader, and then I would experience and learn more and then be like, oh, okay, this is what leading is. And then I'd have more experience and learn more and be like, oh, actually, this is what leader, like, it's just one of these rabbit holes that goes forever. Like, I think it's part of the infinite game. Like, you're just never going to get to a ending point with leadership. There's always more that's going to evolve and inform and educate, which is such a gift to the journey. So I'm excited to see your 4 or 5X.
I haven't even hit the tip of the iceberg on the leadership, and I'm interested to see how it's gonna go. But so mentors are for, and tons of tools, and I appreciate you saying I earned it, because it's been a hell of a process, but we're ready to rock.
Yeah. For anybody that was listening that wants to reach out to you or get their driveway seal coated if they're in Massachusetts, how do we get a hold of you,
Find
Nick?
me on Instagram and Facebook at Nick Lavallee. It's really easy. The I in Nick is a 1, so on Instagram, and then follow our business at Grindstone Seal Coating, where we're posting a ton of our journey and what's going on.
Awesome, man. We'll include all those links in our show notes. So if you're listening, pull over if you're in the car and go click on those links, get a hold of Nick, watch his journey, because I think this dude is going to go somewhere. It's just fun to watch and to observe from here, man. So big cheerleader over in Western Colorado.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it, you having me on today.
Yeah, man. Appreciate the conversation, Nick. We'll catch up with you soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please know that I am incredibly humbled and honored. I can't believe I'm saying this. We have over 2,400 subscribers on our YouTube channel, and we're just growing. It is amazing. And your likes, your subscribes, and your shares have helped us get here. So let's grow this thing together, and just know that you are appreciated.